Welcome to the Mindset on Resilience podcast, where we're building a more confident, resilient, and mentally strong community. I'm your host, Daniel Truelove, and I am excited for not the guests, but the guests that we have today. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because we have current educators that are going to be sharing their experiences on the front lines every day in the classrooms, doing the work to educate our current students. And I'm excited for us to be able to hear the stories and even their point of view because we've had a lot of administrators and individuals that have been on the podcast. But this is the very first time that we've had educators, current educators, and this is the very first time that we've had more than one guest on the show. So this is a very exciting time. And so tune in. You're in for a treat because today's episode is going to be absolutely amazing. So we have three guests, and I'm excited for every single one of them to introduce themselves. They are all dynamic. They are all amazing and doing some spectacular things in their classrooms. And so today's episode, we have three guests. And I would like to start by allowing you all to introduce yourselves. And we're going to start with you, Miss Thomas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cierra Thomas. I'm a fifth year educator, and I'm really pumped up about this podcast and getting the space to speak. I joined this. I joined education to inform, inspire, and transform the minds of the youth. So I'm in it for the long run, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
Awesome. Ms. Z.
Hi, everybody. So this is Ms. Z here, originally from Brooklyn, New York. Um, a little under 20 years. The original reason why I got into education was I found that my son was on the spectrum. And as almost everyone knows, any children who are diagnosed with um, being on the autism spectrum knows that it requires a lot of work, patience, understanding, and the right people.
Mr. Rasaan.
And how y'all doing? Rasaan Rohan. Been teaching for 20 years now. It's been a long journey. I'll tell a quick story. I was at Howard University and was helping out with a kindergarten class, and the teacher asked me to assist some black boys in kindergarten, about 5, 6 years old, and I realized sitting with them that they could not read, and I just sat there and I imagined myself where they would be 20, 15 years later if they're already starting from behind. So I decided that this is the best route to give back to, black people and all people, actually. Glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And so I'm excited to have you all. And I just want to brag for a moment because you all have accolades galore, whether it's Teacher of the Month, whether it's being nominated for Teacher of the Year, whether it's the collaborations and partnerships that you all have had, former military, former HBCU grads, just all around amazing parents and people all together. So this is a time for me where I'm, just excited to be able to be in this space with you all, just to be able to hear, what you all have to share. And so I want to start right here just to be able to hear from, stories from the front lines because, we often hear about, the challenges, of education and, specifically with a different, generation of students. All the times you hear about, access, to social media and the challenges. You mentioned the literacy challenges with that. And so question for you all, what is it like being an educator in 2024?
Being an educator in 2024, it keeps you on your toes. You must stay malleable because the curriculum and the way of the world changes every single day. And as you're up teaching content and trying to transform and inform these young minds, you're competing against the cell phones. You're competing against things that are out of your control. And while you have them for those 90 minutes, you have to be innovative and you have to be graceful because many adults look at this generation as if they're lazy. But if we reflect, we have never experienced a time where we were out of school for a year, where we had to deal with a pandemic. So we have to give these students grace as they're trying to catch up and, kind of stay stay within this crazy world of education because it is tough.
I agree. I agree, Sierra. It is very, very different. I'm coming from a generation that we did not have cell phones. We just barely had television. We were coming out of things like the overseas, different presidents having to deal with different things here and abroad. um, Being old enough to remember 9/11, the Iran Contras, just so many different events that affect and shape our country as to what it is right now. And trying to impress that upon our students, there's a huge disconnect. And the struggle is, how do we get them connected? How do we get them to care? How do we get them to recognize that they are indeed our future?
I started as being just a teacher, educator, and then as time progressed, I realized, I can't just be that. So there's days that you may have to, pull them aside and have those difficult conversations. You may have to mentor or do things that you would normally do in years past, or even when we were in school. So we wear so many hats that just calling us an educator is kind of hate to say it, we're so much more than that nowadays. And we're also starting to become, leaders in the community. And it's a thankless job. And a lot of times, we don't get a lot of respect and, people understand how hard it is, but, we do it from, the heart and make sure that, our students understand that we care. And that's the biggest thing now is also I learned that we used to get respect just from being an elder, and now over time we realize we have to earn their respect. So it's almost have to shift of how we think and operate, with these students. That it could be a middle school student that will curse you out. You got to just handle your business, and the next day, act like it didn't happen, have that thin skin, and not go back and forth with them because a lot of times that's what they're used to at home. So it's got to be something different when they come to us. So, it's definitely changed.
Okay, so I know we kind of talked about something, but we got to go here. So very different because maybe our upbringings were a little bit different. I know for example, mine was very different, and my father, hearing about that, we had something called the belt ministry back then. I don't know if that's active, you know what I'm saying, in today's generation, but there was some consequences, to the actions and behaviors that you portrayed or that you displayed, whether it's at school or wherever else. And from a different generation, heck, my aunties and cousins and even friends that played the role of parent at times, they had the opportunity to step in at times. And so let's talk about that. So you have a student that comes in and let's say disrespect or it's cursing somebody out, and then like what is that environment like when you have to, let's say, forget it and kind of move on, or how do you correct when maybe some of those behaviors are, very much so prevalent and is model behavior because it's going on in their homes? Like, how do y'all navigate like those challenges in real time?
Um, you got to keep your composure, and that's the biggest thing. Is almost like, yes, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to watch what I say, but at the same time, they're going to have to feel my presence. So it's
Facts.
it's not really how you're saying is what you're saying per se. So, and also realizing that if you lose your control, then you actually got down to their level, and then you've lost that classroom and respect of those other students. So there's a thin line between not allowing them, but understanding where they're coming from. Also, garnering that respect that that's the last time they're going to do that. And you may not. Sometimes you may not have admin help. You may not somebody right there to help you right then and there. So it's a long school year. So a lot of times, once you get that respect of that certain student, then the rest of the class knows maybe I shouldn't, take that route. So sometimes you have to make an example of, that one.
Facts.
I think it's also meeting the student where they're at and genuinely, you said it earlier, Rohan, genuinely letting your students know, I am here. I genuinely care. I'm that old fashioned teacher that'll come to your house if things get to be so out of line. I've done it already twice this year, and word got around. But That's the generation I come from. That's how I'm able to connect. You need to know I am here. We're the first line social workers.
Hmm.
I mean, I had a student earlier this year who was feeling very, very depressed and quite. I'm looking at him, hey, what's wrong? And I find out he wants to unalive himself.
Mm.
So, what do you think my job is? I got to get up and get you some help. I'm not going to let you keep thinking or feeling this way. Let me get you some help. So, Cierra said it earlier, Rose said it earlier. Our kids are coming from so many different backgrounds. We have to navigate. But I think the bottom line is establishing a relationship with each and every one of them individually, and somehow, some way, letting them know you care.
I think they said it all. Like here, it's that is the core of things. Many adults believe, like you said earlier, that asserting dominance is what they need to do, like because that's their role. And although I'm not a peer to my students, I am not always in that authoritative figure because they receive that all the time. People don't listen to children. And if you take the time to listen to a child, um, you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot. And if you can control your emotions, you will control your classroom and control the situation.
That's true. Good point.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned it, Ro, and I mentioned having like modeled behavior, and so a lot of the things that we experience or things that we see is something that they've have learned from somewhere. We don't know whether it's a guardian, a parent, or a relative. They've learned it, and so how do we model something that's different while also helping them to understand what is the appropriate behavior that is in particular environments, because as you grow up you can't just do everything everywhere. There's like a certain thing that you have to adapt to, and having those relationships and understanding the experiences and challenges that come from allow us to be able to do that. And so, I love what you all have had to share. And so, with that being said, like I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because all across the country you hear about teacher shortages and emergency certifications, because there we need educators in the classroom. So like with all the things that you all have experienced, why have you like decided to remain an educator, and what type of message do you have, for individuals that are interested in education, or maybe they are uninterested in education, but they need to be interested in education?
Just like the military, I feel like everybody should put their service in certain things that we have going on. And education is one of those things. We are transforming minds of the people who will be taking care of us and our children. If that doesn't if people say they love their children like they love their children, education will be important to them, whether they're a teacher, a substitute, they go and vote in their local elections and take heed to who's trying to sit in office and dictate what their children learn. It's so much deeper than just being present in the classroom. And once we as a society understand that, education will move forward. But I also feel like we're in a system that is not meant to be fixed. I don't believe it's meant to be fixed. And I believe we can continue to move in this space and move forward and be progressive. But I think it's almost like we're getting a pushback. As educators, we're really important. And if you're interested in the field, I believe you should take some time to see where your part is. It may not be in the classroom, but um, step into education however you can, because we need your help.
Rohan, I would like to hear your experience, because 2%, and that is the number when it comes to black male educators. And so I don't know if it's 2% anymore. It may be less than 2% now. It's even less of that when you get to the administration level. And so as a black male educator, you are a minority in every sense. So tell me a little bit about your experience, and why, and to other individuals that are, that should be in the education space?
Honestly, I think about it all the time. I can't picture myself doing anything else besides education. And to Sierra's point, there's so many different avenues. So obviously, I don't want to be in a classroom forever, but it's my background. I didn't know who my father was. I was 16. Didn't have a picture. Didn't know what he looked like. What have you. So that lack of father figure, in the house, it was hard. And I feel like, I'm not perfect, and I feel like the best way I could give back, not only just as far as society, but spiritually. And that's what's gotten me through that. It's my calling. And I tell anybody that wants to get into it, I first started out, and an old school teacher said, when the first day when you say, "Hi, my name is," you're going to know in that moment if you're going to be an educator. And I did it, and it felt right. And if your spirit isn't in it and you don't feel it, then this isn't the place or the profession. Obviously, not we're not in this for the money, but I really think for just males, period, black, white, it doesn't matter. Having just a man that you see at least an hour a day outside of your house is, I mean, you can't beat it. And I also know that everybody has their own lane to, I'll say, I don't want to keep saying give back, but add value to, society. And it's like we all have a way, and this is just my way. I also think that we become apathetic, and this apathy has been prevalent. I want to say probably starting like the 70s, 80s when affirmative action came, and some of us got those government jobs and what have you, and kind of forgot about the struggle. And Malcolm X had a great point that if one black person isn't free, then none of us are free. So I went to Howard, and I remember having arguments with people about somebody actually telling me that they weren't African American, and they didn't want to put the African part. And this is at a HBCU. So I went to HBCU to get that a black experience with people that are like me, intellectuals, what have you. And I was disappointed at times, but at the same time, I also learned so much from so many different people at Howard outside of the intellectuals, that mixture and those minds put together in one spot, like I'll never forget it. So taking that experience in the classroom I realized not everybody's going to college. And if I don't give those type of options, that no, you don't have to just be a teacher, you don't even have to go to school, you can get in a trade school, have you, and giving them these different options that, yeah, I chose this path, but don't let anybody ever tell you what you can or cannot do. And sometimes, and you need to hear from a man. And I just feel
Mm-hmm.
like we rely as men too much on women, on doing things that we should be doing, and that has seems like has been happening for maybe the last 20, 30 years, that it's time for men to step up. And it may be uncomfortable where we're not getting paid as much. I have friends that come from the same place, they're making six figures and been making six figures, but I love what I do. And that's what I tell anybody that wants to get it. If you don't love what you're doing, then I was telling my students, hey, this is not work for me.
Right.
Like if I won a lottery, I'd go to work. I wouldn't be there at 8 o'clock, or I wouldn't be at 7:50, or 9:30, but I'd be at about 12 to 2 or something, 12 to 4. But if it's not for them, then but it's my passion and calling. So I just feel like honestly, I think anybody that's doing it now in 2024, uh, they love it, and I'll just put God out there.
Mm.
It's a
Ms.
God given talent we have.
Ms. you got anything you'd like to share?
Ooh. In the interest of time, I'll keep it really brief. I was blessed to have been raised in a household. I was in foster care, and then I ended up getting adopted finally by the time of age 13. But I was in a household with a woman who went through the depression with 11 children and a husband. Learning the values that she taught me, also the patience, the resilience, watching her come up against every type of adversity and still teaching. all 11 children who became very successful. All of them have degrees. And that, moi, me included. Um, why education? People like her. That's why.
Mm. That's good. That's good. And I almost went somewhere because this conversation is good. I know we have some things that we want to discuss, but um, if y'all don't mind me, pivoting for a moment, it's something that you said, Ro, and I would love your feedback if y'all are okay. You said if you're an educator, in 2024, then you love it. Um, I was in the classroom and I operate in the education space as a consultant, and so I go in and I'm, doing professional development, going in and doing assemblies. And so I see, from an outside perspective, and, sometimes I see some individuals that have a genuine passion and love for it. I'm not gonna lie. I see some people that don't. Y'all get summers off, and I know you mentioned the pay. So you have colleagues that are making six figures, and let's say that's not what you're making it as an educator, but some people from a lifestyle perspective like the comfort of education and like what it does for them, but it's not like, let's say their heart isn't all the way in there, or it was at one point, but it's not there anymore. I would love to hear your feedback on like the love for it. Like, do you all experience every educator and they love and they're just as passionate as you? And if not, like, what can we as educators do to get that love back? You came in here for a reason, but maybe you forgot that reason. And how can we get that love and that spark that we once had?
That's a good. I don't. I'm gonna be honest. It's hard getting it back
Mm,
because there's so much put more on us year by year, and more responsibilities, more meetings, more initiatives, what have you. That to your point, a lot of people just write it out. But
mm,
I feel like because these students are changing, the demographics of the students are going to start pushing people out naturally because they're not going to be able to handle it.
mm,
If you're not loving it and you're there just to be there, truth comes to light eventually. And I can't knock anybody. It's a profession. What have we all got to get paid? But that spark, I really think now it's man. Can y'all answer that? Because I'm struggling like how to get somebody motivated again. Like how
It
would you?
takes support. It takes support. We have new teachers coming in. We have the old people who have been there for God knows how long. Students can tell if you are genuine. If you don't give a rat's behind, they know, and they will call you out on it. The other half, I love my colleagues. I love working with Cierra. I love working with Ro because they bring a whole different set of dynamics to the table. I learned from Sierra. She's a lot younger than I am, but she brings a plethora of information to the table, ideas that I would not have thought of. Ro comes from a different perspective as a Black man, having lived up in New York like I did, teaching down here in Georgia, me having worked in the jails and then coming back into the public schools. Totally, totally different. What keeps you? It's your colleagues and it's the support. We have a really good admin team here who I think truly has our back and has shown us on more than one occasions. They got us. They're here. But I know a lot of teachers don't feel that way, and a lot of teachers elsewhere don't have that.
mm.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
Miss Thomas.
Lady C?
I think that so I'm speaking from a perspective of a new teacher, I would like to say, because I've been in the profession for 5 years. So even the times that I feel burnt out, I reflect and look to my colleagues like, okay, this is just the beginning, so buckle
Mm,
up. But the teachers that feel burnt out, I would just ask you why. Like, why are you here? What is your why? And like Mr. Rohan said, I just feel as though if you don't love this, it feels like a job. And this is not an easy task. I have had so many people approach me with the perspective of teaching is like put up a PowerPoint, let them do the work, grade the work, make sure no one fights, and let them go. I don't think people understand that we have a curriculum to follow, and teachers are not just out here doing what they want. We are also graded by our administrative team. So everything's calculated, everything's intentional, and you have to love it. So I hope I don't come across the point in time where I lose the spark. But right now, and with the support and the children, I'm in.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. Yeah,
I want to
and I just sorry. What was that?
no, just real. And I actually I did get burnt out, and I had to take time off. I actually took a school year off. So to anybody out there that loves it, but just when piggybacking off of what they were saying, like colleagues and support. But if all of that doesn't work, it's okay to take some time off. And I tell people to
Mm,
take the time until you have to take the time. And if you don't take that time and just it's all right because there's always a need for teachers. So if you have to just step away for a minute and do something else or what have you. But I will tell you, when I left, it called me back. I
mm.
tried, and I ended just coming back in the classroom. So just take the time.
Yeah. And I would like to go here for a moment because I want to talk about, self care, as an educator, because uh, one of the topics that I speak on very often is the topic of mental health. And, I say often that people don't make their self care, their mental health a priority until it's a priority, until it's something is a problem. And now they have to respond to something that wasn't prioritize beforehand. And so I think it's necessary for educators to have some type of self care routine that is implemented right now. And so I would like to start with you, Ms. Thomas. Like, tell me a little bit about like what are you doing for self care? Like, do you have something that you prioritize? Do you have anything that you're doing that allows for you to continue to keep it going and operate in the excellence at the same time?
I don't know if I do. And I had this moment of reflection, like, what does Miss Thomas do for herself? Miss Thomas knows everything about every situation, every student, every grade, every problem, but what does she do for herself? And I don't have a routine, but I know when to step away. I've learned that I cannot be effective for my students if I am not at 100%. So, like Mr. Rohan said, I will take the day if I feel overwhelmed or I feel as though I've built such great relationships with my students, and because they appreciate that someone cares, they're always on me, and I feel sometimes I have anxiety, but I can't push them
Mm,
away. They need like they and sometimes they just want to say hello.
mm,
Hmm.
So I think understanding that you can be an effective, impactful teacher and also step away is very important because
mm.
there will be no effective teacher if you don't know when to step back.
Sure.
Yeah. And I would like to just mention that, just talk about this for a second because you mentioned that anxiousness that you feel for having to take a day off, or because it's like, you know, perfect attendance is the thing. You know what I'm saying? And I saw a quote recently: awards that don't exist, and on the top of the list was perfect attendance. One person, you know what I'm saying, is like the one that was always there, and it's like you showed up for everything. So um, I just want to share with you all, if there is a perfect attendance award, let it be for you showing up for you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, you have to continue to every day show up for yourself. And as you continue to pour into the lives of everybody else, you have to pour into you. Ro, we're going to talk a little bit later about mentorship, and I'm advocate when it comes to mentoring. I have mentoring programs myself, and there's one concept that I feel like is very much so prevalent as it relates to mentors. I feel like there should always be tension in the middle. And so as a mentor, you're pouring in to somebody. And so that's that concept of you what pouring back, you're giving back. But if I could draw a picture with you in the middle, you should have somebody that's pulling you. A mentor pulls the best out of the individuals that they're in their lives. Who's pulling the best out of you? As you're pouring out, I don't know if y'all, I'm from the country, so we the garden thing where like you used to have this thing where water pours out of it, but there was a space for it to be poured into, so it can always be refilled even in the pouring. So even while you're pouring, where is your space and where are your people that are pouring into you so that you never get empty? And that's not necessarily something for you all to respond to, but something I wanted to share with you all, and make sure that you continue to to show it for you. And so, if anybody else wants to comment on the self care, you can. But if not, we can continue on with what we're getting ready to talk about. So, anybody want to say anything about that?
Meditation and taking that, and I've realized it doesn't take 40 minutes, 10 minutes of meditation before, get stepping in. And sometimes I'll just do it during a planning period or during lunch for just 5 quick minutes, just where I just, decompress and just clear my mind. And then exercise as has definitely helped as I gotten older, because I'm 43. The body don't bounce back like used to, knees and the back and what have you. So, it helps with the stress. And a lot of times just 5, 10 minutes in the gym, 15 minutes in the gym, what have you, just, get on the bike, bench press, whatever it needs to be. And then also just, and I'll tell you, prayer, meditation, and gym. So anybody out there, that's the three things that has sustained me. I'll say that.
Gotcha.
And a bottle of wine helps. Yep, I said it. Okay, we can go
Listen,
to the next.
I'm not mad at you at all. I'm not mad at you at all. And so, you all are in the trenches, and so what are some things that you all you all are implementing in present day, that you feel like other educators should be aware of, that allows for you all to be able to reach, to be able to connect, to be able to educate? Like, what are some of the practices that are working for you all with students that have challenges, students that don't have challenges, whatever the case may be? Like, what's working?
So I have a few things. I am a non-traditional teacher.
Okay.
And I think I show up for my students as my teachers showed up for me. And when I was sick, I was crawling to go to school.
Mm,
So the things that I do in my class, and I'm on social media and it's literally gone viral. People have these unpopular opinions about what should be going on in the classroom, but I see what works for my students. It builds that relationship. Then I see the results. I see the data. I see the engagement.
mm,
So, one thing that I do on Mondays is incorporate mental health. As soon as the bell rings, I do not get into instruction. I allow them to 5 to 7 minutes to kind of decompress. They haven't seen their friends, get their materials, be prepared for the day. I don't take cell phones. I allow them to eat in class, and I also offer extra credit.
hold on, whoa. Listen, somebody right now, they cringing.
Yes,
Whoa.
yes,
Self, like, listen,
yes, yes.
right now, they
Um,
wait a minute. You do what? So
I
mental health in the class, 5 to 7 minutes. What, cell
Yes.
phones, eat in the classroom? Talk to.
It sounds like chaos, but it's organized chaos.
Mm,
And once you learn children, you understand what makes them work and what keeps them engaged. So
facts.
the mental health, that is when we wake up in the morning and we sit at our jobs, do we want our coworkers to come open our door as soon as we walk into the building? Give us a minute. We should give the children that same respect because later on, when they're in that mode, they're going to be engaged because they're ready for the lesson.
Mm,
Eating in class. I run my mouth all day and sometimes I need a little snack. My students should be able to afford that same opportunity because if I'm hungry, I can't pay attention. And all that lesson planning that I just did, all that time I just spent is now wasted because my child is hungry. Let them eat, okay? Cell phones. Everything is digital. We have been afforded the opportunity to be one to one, so one laptop per child. But have you like a piece of technology with a 13, 14, 15-year-old child, that thing it doesn't last. It's broken, it's spilled, it's technical issues. They need their phone. But I'm a vigilant teacher. I'm up and around. We're engaged. We're playing cahoots, games that require QR codes, projects that are require pictures and require scavenger hunts. Why would I take your phone? I'm gonna make you use it. I'm going to
Hmm.
make you use it. So we have to meet the children where they are and learn not to take things from them, but to help them manage their behavior when they have these resources.
That's good. That's good. And I think that's so amazing for two reasons. Number one, um, I was a class clown, right? And so so I often got ever since elementary, I've gotten unsatisfactory in conduct. But now I speak for a living, and so it was never a space to where it was encouraged. It was more so something that was demeaned and something that was I got in trouble for at home because this is not something good. And so taking up their cell phones, that's obviously going to be something to where it's going to get back at home, and it's going to be something that where they're going to have conversations about it, and it doesn't create an environment in the classroom to where they want to be there. And so I love the fact that you say, hey, find a way to incorporate these things. And the second part of that is that means that, what used to work, especially if you've been in education for a while, maybe there needs to be an update, to the way in which you go about doing things. And so, yeah, I'm excited to hear what the rest of you all have to say. If anybody wants to share anything about that.
I'm the opposite. No, you're
Okay.
not using your cell phone.
Mm.
Sorry, no. Because if I'm catching you texting your girlfriend, your boo thing on the side, you're not focused. You're not doing the work that I asked you to do. I need you to walk your hind parts around this class and get these assignments done. They're on the wall, they're on the computer, they're in Google
Mm.
Classroom. Get to it. Now, food in my classroom. You can eat, but if you leave the garbage in my desk, rest be assured, my name is not Kizzy Maya Fonta the maid. You better get up and then clean up after yourself.
Not the kids, man.
Oh man.
So, in terms of teaching, I like getting up, walking around the class, move. They have to move because they have ants in their pants. Um, in the days when I was going to school, because I'm 60, I'll be 61, we were made to sit with our hands like this.
Mm.
Are you kidding me? Folks have lost their mind. No, they're not sitting with their hands. They have to get up and move. Peers get up and move. Sometimes I'll put assignments up on the wall, like five, maybe. Get up, rotate. You have a timer, get to it. They hate reading. I'll read the document to you. Let's talk about it. Now go ahead and answer. You have to be creative because not everyone learns the same way.
That's good.
Sometimes they will group and put students with special needs with varying IEPs, varying accommodations, ESOL students, students that don't speak any English whatsoever. I have to figure it out. So me and Google Translate are best friends. Pictures are my best friend.
Mm.
And pairing them up with students who speak the same language to translate for me here and there. You have to be willing to switch up. You
Mm.
can't stay back in the old days.
Yeah,
Things are different.
bro.
Mess
Um,
around, I'll be at your house. Okay, go ahead, Ro.
so I had problems with earlier about answering the question about motivating people that are struggling and listening to my colleagues. Like, this is why I love to teach,
Mm.
because you're surrounded by people that have different personalities, different ways of teaching. So it motivates you, like, yo, if they're doing it, and especially if you're teaching the same student or you taught the same student year before, it's like, yo, if they can do that with he or she, then why can't I do it? So it kind of gets you hyped, like, okay, let me find in your own lane, but seeing that it is possible. um to your point earlier, I was a clown, and that was just my thing. I like to make people laugh. So how I keep my students engages my humor.
Mm,
And I mean, it's pretty corny and it's lame, 9 times out of 10. But it's so corny, like they have to kind of laugh at it and what have you. So I'm also kind of like I'm a comedian, and I think that's what I may not know about the QR codes and everything else, but I'm learning, and I was just learning just from listening to them talk. You know what I'm saying? But
mm.
as far as my way is my humor and mixing it that they know when it's time to play and laugh and it's time to get focused. So that's
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 good.
my way of keeping them engaged, especially hour and a half classes. So it's 90 minutes.
Right, right. Miss Thomas, I would like for you because one of the things that you shared with me were some of the innovative strategies that that you've utilized. You mentioned like a partnership with Lil Baby. You mentioned social media, and so it looks like you infuse these things into your time with them. Tell me a little bit about what does that look like? What type of engaging, fun types of things are you doing? In your classes.
So, what I decided to do was be active outside of my class as well. So these strategies and these things are transferable. They're nothing that I'm just doing inside the classroom. But
Mm,
I decided to take the role of a senior sponsor, so ensuring that the class of 2023 was sent off well. So their senior events, hosting different monthly events for social emotional learning or financial literacy, doing fundraisers and things of that sort. But I leaned into the community. That's all I did. I am not originally from Georgia. I am from Miami, Florida, and I moved here about 3 years ago. And I got into the classroom, and again, my strategies and my rapport with my students, it's so strong that I'm able to maneuver in these spaces as if I'm really from here. So, getting a partnership with Little Baby that was at my last school. He attended the school, and the class was graduating, and they had done so well, earned millions of dollars in scholarships. The alumni gave over $10,000. Like they were just on a roll, and I shot my shot to see if he would give them a shout out and a congratulations and kind of send them off well. And he had done that. And just someone of that stature from the same, he walked the same halls as those students. And that was so impactful for them. Some of them came to me like, that made my year. And
mm.
we don't know our power or our impact until we actually go out there and try. All you have to do is ask and advocate for the students, especially when they deserve it.
That's good. That's good. And so, Ro, I have a question I'd like to ask for you. You're very heavily involved with leadership programs, and I would love for you to speak for a moment on like what has been your experience with creating, sponsoring, programs of that nature, and what has been the kind of the outcomes from what you've been able to do.
I started a program in 2000, and I think it was 2008 in South Fulton, and I realized I can only do but so much in the classroom, and there was conversations that needed to be had that I couldn't necessarily do talking about world history or Georgia studies per se. Um, it was difficult but rewarding because I just watched them grow. And sometimes it's the little things. If they just went to class, every class for that day, it was a win for me. And I think once I stopped trying to save the entire world and focus on leading the leaders, it got so much easier where I've learned how to find the leaders in the school, get with them, help them, evolve, and they take those principles to, their clique. So, from the athletes to the quote unquote nerds to, what I'm saying, to the thugs, the gangsters, whatever case may be, and put them all in a classroom and just watch them just operate. I actually was just on 1380 AM, and the only reason I was on there was because one of my old students actually went on, found me through, I want to say, I think of like the last school I was at had like we had to do like a bio page or something, a web page, and he found
Mm,
my number, and I'm teaching, and he calls, and he's just talking, and this guy would never have thought that would be this successful, and he brought me
mm,
on the show, and I walk in, and not only is he's helping hosting, he's also working the boards, and he told a story about me seeing him at ISS and talking to him, and he didn't even tell me the story before we got one on air. So on air, I'm listening to him telling a story about this was 2009, maybe 10. So it's hard though too because I some of these old students they're not living, and
mm,
that's the roughest part is that I have all these student information sheets from years, and I look through it trying to reach back to parents I see how they're doing, and I have to pull some of them because I know they and I've had two students actually, one they knew each other, were in the program, and one shot and killed the other, and I had somebody sent me a clip, and they both mugshots are on TV. So it's a gift and a curse because you said it earlier about pouring into people so much that you have to make sure, to your point, that taking care of myself, and that's what I
yeah,
talked about earlier about the burnout was I was taking on too much.
yeah.
So now I learned like I still got to go home. I got two young children, what have you. So it was finding a balance between teaching and then also mentoring and leading, and then also being a father, son. The list goes on. So
Right.
it's been real rewarding, and it's starting to get easier, and I'm seeing the effects faster because I'm getting better at it. And I love seeing students that somebody would say is not going to make it, and I just wish they could come and see it. So I'm learning ways of having products that they're creating to see like, yo, it's possible for them to do this, and I'm seeing it. So it's been a blessing, and I look and I hope that more men that step out of classroom besides coaching, and that's the hardest thing. I know coaches, they're in the community, but other educators that aren't coaching, they can't just keep coming to school and just teaching. Like we have a responsibility to do. I don't care if it's a chess club, a gaming club, or something. Because every time I've hired a school, they ask me, okay, we're hired to teach, but what else can you do? And I think we the 2% has to realize we got to ride for the other 98% that's not in the school system. So if it's not a mentor program, but it's something that men can do outside, obviously coaching, but outside of coaching, to reach these young men. So
Yeah, and I agree. And you mentioned it earlier that men got to step up. Our amazing women in our communities all around have done an amazing job. But we as men, we got to do our job. And the fact that you got burnt out is just a telltale sign that where's the support? Where's the community? Where's the other people to step up and say, hey, man, bro, there's no way I'm going to allow you to be able to carry that by yourself versus saying, hey, man, good job. No, not good job. I'm joining in, and so for anybody that is listening to this, if you're in the area, team up with him. Don't allow him to carry that load by himself because it wasn't his burden to carry all by himself altogether. So this is my appeal for all the men in the community that know you. Step up. And so, Ms. Z, I would love for you to touch on this for a moment because I want to rewind back to a time in this conversation where you shared about the reason why you got into education, and you mentioned your child that had special needs was on the spectrum, and
Mhm.
it was a call for you to learn and grow in order for you to be able to support your children in the best way that you could. And so I would love for you to just speak from different things that you have experienced, not just in the classroom, but as a parent, navigating life challenges, adversity, and being tenacious and being able to overcome those things.
Hmm. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this brief.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
won't bore folks, but um, starting out from foster care, I got lucky. Most kids don't. Adoption, again, I got lucky. That was a family of 11 children who had already been in there in the trenches. And here I come with my two siblings. Um, Fast forward, high school, Catholic high school. She made sure to advocate that I get a good education. So she made the home that I was in they had to pay for my education, a couple of grand every single year.
Mm.
Um, when we talk about coming up against adversity, fast forward, we're talking, I got married, ended up getting divorced after 9 years. Son had special, has still. You never get rid of autism. You learn to live with it. But also an awesome daughter. Finding out that a child of yours has special needs and you having to navigate the educational system is extremely difficult. It takes a lot of perseverance, it takes tenacity, it takes the drive to want to do better. Personally, as a parent, but also to do better for your child. And that's what pushed me to move from New York City, 8 hours up, almost right into Canada in Buffalo, New York, and go back to school. You get tired of being passed over for promotions because you don't have a degree. But other people are taking your knowledge and making good on it.
Mm.
You go all the way up, things are different, different lifestyle. I finally graduate, come down here to Georgia. Gwinnett County gave me HE double hockey sticks with my son. And they put him in a classroom with other children, but who had specific mental health issues. My son is on the spectrum. He's underneath the table while they're throwing tables all over the place, telling me they don't have an autism unit or department. Now they do. But for parents who don't know, educate yourself. There's an advocate for you in every special education department. Don't you dare let them railroad your child and tell you what you already know about your child. And I say
Mm.
that because I had a psychologist yell at me, Caucasian woman, yell at me in New York City, telling me that my child had a mental health. And I knew, don't tell me about a mental health diagnosis because it's easier for you to prescribe a bunch of pills than it is for me to get him in the right program that he needs so that he can be a functioning, contributing member of society. So the bottom line is, and like I said, I didn't want to pour the stew at everybody. Parents, step up and learn more about how you can help your child. That's what pushed me to go back to school. And I ended up becoming special education teacher so that I
Wow.
could help my son. Yeah.
That's
And then, of
amazing.
course, I'm now in awesome high school, which I love teaching my favorite subject in the whole wide world. But I know my special ed babies when they come in. I know who they are and I know how to help them. I know
That's
what I
awesome.
need to do.
That's good. That's good. That's one of the things I take from you. My nephew is on the spectrum as well, and similar experience. And my sister is like you. Now you're not going to tell me. She advocated, and because of her advocacy, um, he's gotten the opportunities and resources that he needs. And so, parents, not only just parents, but don't just advocate for your students. Like be an advocate for kids. Just in general. You see some kids that need something. Like make sure you're doing everything that you can, to
Right.
provide the space and the resources that they need to be fully functioning, to be successful. Contribution to society and all that. And so, you all, this has been an absolutely amazing conversation. I wish we had more time because I know we can get into so many more, avenues and aspects of what you all do. But one thing that I wanted to say was thank you. I know you all work hard, but how often do you hear thank you? It's just like keep doing this, or here's something else for you to do. But from one former educator to some current educators, I just want to say I appreciate you all. Continue to do amazing work. And if you haven't heard it lately, I just want to let you know that you are appreciated, you're loved, you're valued, and there's a lot of people who are cheering you on, want you to continue to do amazing things. And so, and that's to every other educator that is out there as well. And so, for us, we like to end our episode with better days ahead. And that is just your opportunity to share any wisdom, advice, encouragement that you have for our listeners. And so I'll go for you, Miss Thomas, Miss Z, and then Ro to end us out. Do you have anything that you would like to share for better days ahead?
Absolutely. Thank you for the time and the space to speak and share my thoughts. For anybody out there going through anything, whether you're an educator, whether you're in education or not. I want to say that the only way out is through. So there's no need to stop in the midst of the storm if you don't plan on getting soaking wet. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep working for another better day.
Love it. Ms. Z.
Malcolm X, education is the passport to the future. For though tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today, education is your key. Don't let anyone tell you anything different.
Bro.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Don't look back. Something's gaining on you. A Satchel Page. So just make sure keep the past past and stay in the present. It's the power of the now.
Love it. Love it. And so we end with the advice that we just had and the wisdom that we just shared. And so the only way out is through. Education is the key for all of you out there. And don't look back, because what's behind you can't help you out. You got to continue to look ahead. And so I just want to say thank you all for your time. This is another segment of the Mindset on Resilience podcast. Until next time, thank you all so much.
Bye.
Thank you.